Bam!
Jayson Waller here, true underdog. I've got my co-host John LeBlanc for today's episode, and I know we were going to talk about pivotal people today, role models. John had some questions, wanted to interview. How you been, John? I haven't seen you in a little while.
Dude, been great. First Sunday of the NFL season today.
Bam! I see that Lions jacket or hoodie on right there, representing the Lions. I'm going to be watching it as well. I've got to change into a jersey later today. So for the listeners and viewers, obviously we record this a couple weeks before you get it. So today is NFL Kickoff Sunday. We're jacked up. I'm calling the Lions 31-10 over the Bears. All right, so let's get started. I mean, we haven't got to talk in a while. We cover subjects here for the listeners and viewers out there. Keep them motivated, keep them hungry, keep them, satisfied. I want to give some of, the information that the people and things you learn from those people that I can share with some of the folks out there, listeners and viewers that are opening a business or have a job that they're trying to get, or they're in a job, and maybe some of the, what we'll talk about today relates to them, and it can help them, and it can help them better themselves and take it to the next level. So I know you had some questions lined up, John. I'm always super excited to get interviewed. I love to talk. So go ahead.
So, with pivotal people in your life, this is some stuff that I've been thinking about. Right. And I think as you go through your pod and the YouTube channel, people will gravitate towards you as maybe one of their pivotal and mentors, through their life and some of their adversity. But who's your pivotal people or person? Who do you learn from? Who do you gain traction and experience and motivation from? Where's your go-to guy or people?
I don't know if I have a go-to guy right now. I mean, I've had people throughout my life, as a young teenager to now. But really, I would say in today's world, I listen to some of the motivational speakers out there. E.T.'s one of my favorites. Grant Cardone is pretty good. And, I listen and that helps get my juices flowing. But realistically, I think it's my team. It's, the executive team keeps me motivated and pushing and driving. My family, our employees. I learn things every day from somebody. I don't know everything. You have to be a sponge. I've got a great CEO coach in Brian Elias that he helps keep me on track. We've got a great marketing company that we partner with, Sussman Agency, that keeps me motivated and track. I mean, there's just different aspects, I think, in having a pivotal person or people that are role models for me. If I had to look really, Elon Musk, I mean, he's somewhat in our industry. He does batteries. I mean, it's groundbreaking of what he's doing. And, it's motivating. It's exciting. The electric cars coming out. So I think that's another one that I probably look to see, how he's built his business and kept people going. It's exciting.
Yeah. So, one of the things I was thinking of too is, with pivotal people, typically there's, some kind of pivotal moment in their career. And I'm sure you've had some. We've talked about some actually. But, I was wondering, anything that, stems back, we're kind of going through a pretty pivotal moment right now that has to, we have to overcome some adversity. And I think as a business, you certainly have. But reaching back, were you running a business during the housing crash and, when society had its moments and, what was your reaction? How did you get through that? Let's talk about some of that stuff.
Well, as a kid, and I was running a company, in 2008 when the housing crash happened, right? But as a kid, I watched my parents, they're hardworking. Their role model, my work ethic comes from them. My dad worked his ass off at AT&T. My mom worked, third shift, and she worked at a bakery. I mean, they always hustled and they worked hard. We didn't have a lot, but they busted their ass to get there. But my dad had a spending problem, probably still does. Filed bankruptcy. I mean, I hate to share it, but it's true, multiple times in his life. And seeing him work his ass off to have to file bankruptcy, we're moving all the time doing these things, made me learn that you got to work hard, but you can't piss away all your money, right? You can't spend everything. You can't overdo that. And I watched him overcome that many times, right? Many times that he was having to deal with adversity where, he overspent, wrote a check his ass can't cash type thing. And, we found a way to get through, found a different house to live in, found, everything that he did. I could see some of that adversity, and when you see pivotal, role models, people that are going to make an impact in your life, you've got to see the good in them and you've got to see the bad in them of what you don't want to do and learn. With Kevin Klink, my business partner and one of my best friends for life, I saw early in '04 what he did good running a company in Arizona and what he did bad. Right. And I tried to learn from that and be better than that. And then when he came to work for me, he, would help on the marketing standpoint and short term of how we can overcome and do things. Right. And I would have the vision and, it was yin and yang and it was the opposite. So he was there as well. I also, when I was a kid, my dad worked blue collar, and there is nothing wrong with blue collar. That's what this country's built on, hardworking folks. But, that's just not my giddy up. I watched my dad bust his ass his whole life and move to North Carolina and get a crappy package and struggle his whole life. All those hours you put in and all that work, and you don't have a lot to show for it. And, him and my mom. And I hate that because I watched his good friend, late friend, Mike Roberts, open a video store in the mid 90s, early 90s, when it was cool, before Blockbuster and them, right? This was the biz. And he offered my dad an opportunity to open a sub shop and my mom a bakery. And my dad was nervous because my brother and sister had asthma, and he wanted the Old Faithful, right? The AT&T guaranteed paycheck. This is the right move. For him, it was the right move. But what it showed me in that moment is he had a buddy owned his own company that was just getting bigger. And I was like, wow, it made me say, I don't ever want to be that person. Right. And, I just did a podcast with Heather Monahan yesterday, and that one's going to come out and it's great. And she felt like she was built for corporate America forever. And then when she got fired out of the blue and she was this high, top lady in radio, she converted over to write a book and motivate people. And now she's does more, is worth more, helps more people. She's in a better place overall than before. So you do evolve and adapt. I've done some corporate America. When I was at AT&T, I didn't really have any mentors there doing sales. I was there, I was crushing it. And there was nobody really mentoring me there. When I got to Verizon Wireless in '01, we just passed 9/11. I actually had my interview scheduled that day to go get that job. I was at another job. And I remember when 9/11 happened, everyone was freaking out. Everybody knows where they were. And I was actually selling. I was working for a company called Empower, and I was trying to sell data and frame relay. And I was at this gentleman's office who happened to be from the Middle East. I think he was Pakistan. And he sold vacations. And I was in his place when the first tower got hit. And he had it on TV. And he thought some guy got upset with the stock market and just crashed the plane into the thing. When the second one hit, him and me both got nervous and scared, like there's something wrong. And so I was driving home and nervous. Planes were going to come down everywhere. I mean, in that moment, we were like, what is going on? Nobody had enough information. So, yesterday being emotional, thinking about that reminded me of how I missed my interview at Verizon. And I had an interview with a lady there. I don't remember her name, but then my interview changed to Vince Ferranda, who was my manager at Verizon, that I got an interview a couple of days later and I got the job. And thank God I did, because he helped polish me. He was another one of those professional mentors that could work for me. He saw, I believe, raw talent in me. I could sell anything, but I had to be more corporate. I had to sit in boardrooms. I had to be able to offer, data solutions to these big corporations, and he would polish me. He would work with me to be more professional. We'd cut up, and he knew I had the sales skills to be the best, but I needed to be polished. So it was another person that really helped me along the way. So shouts out to Vince for that as well. And then, then it kind of went from that to going in the home security business. And, that's when me and Kevin touched again, and he had a small company, like 12 employees, run out of his bedroom. And we were supposed to be partners and open this company together. He didn't have the money. He decided to get into real estate. I opened up, he shut down. We didn't talk for 4 or 5 years. But when I went out there before we opened the business and saw what he did good and bad, that was inspiring. I saw what he could do and felt like I could do more. in a different way and what he was struggling at where I could help. So us being partners would have been great. He kind of fell off for 4 or 5 years, went through some dark times. And then he came back to work for me in 2009. Well, I opened the company in 2005. And along that time, I mean, I struggled and I had to learn and I had to fail to learn. And I had to lean on, failed experience. I didn't really have a mentor in that game. And it was learned by experience and failure. I mean, it was nuts.
Is there like any moments that stick out to you? So you 05 and we said 05 to 09, but like any big moments where you're like, man, I really don't know if this is going to work unless I do. And
I brought in different sales guys. And listen, I'm never bigger than anybody that works for me, right? I may be in a different position. I may have different attributes and skill sets that they don't. That doesn't make me better than anybody. So, early on, I struggled. I talked about it before in another show where I struggled to be the leader I needed to be for people that had more college than me, more experience than me, that were smarter than me, better spoken than me. I used to do the, I used to be that kind of guy, right? Nervous tick, couldn't talk very well. And I had to overcome that. And a couple of the sales guys that came in, they were inspiring. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he was an older guy and he sold for us and he did pretty well. And he would always have this positive outlook and he'd always say mud pies. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? And he's like, look, as bad as it ever gets here, there's people in other countries that eat mud pies. And as long as I think about that, and I don't want me and my family to be in that situation, I'm motivated. And that was inspiring. It was like, what, this guy, he gets it. And I need to, not get stuck in my own stuff. But really, I didn't really have anybody. I mean, it was crazy how we would, from that time, I mean, I had my dad was retired. He was doing flyers and then he started working in the, the installation side. But on the sales side, I had my brother who was one of the best salesmen ever. He was out, door knocking and selling. And, we had our up and down part of the relationship, but really it was just learn and go. It was, how do we get better? How do we mold to get better? The Monotronics team at the time, I think, groomed me a little bit. I think they also saw some talent in me, but they knew I was young and I was green, and they kind of worked with me some. And then in 2009, Kevin came back. Well, let's talk about 2008. So you talked about the housing market fell apart, and for the listeners, viewers out there, like, what we're going through today is similar to that. There was uncertainty.
Yeah,
people were foreclosing on their home.
You're selling securities at this point, home security systems, right?
I'm selling home security. And our whole pitch was really hitting new neighborhoods. So we go into new neighborhoods and we're selling home security with a free garage door opener or a $200 gift card from Home Depot to get installation for free and pay $1 and change monitoring a day. We were selling contracts and doing the installs. And when the housing market just fell, a lot of my competitors went out of business and I refused to lose. Like, we're not going to do that. How can we overcome that? And so we came up with the idea of having a community newsletter of break-ins. So we would pull reports of the local break-ins and create a newsletter and go to the existing neighborhoods because the new neighborhoods were gone, and put that newsletter on the doors and the mailboxes. And listen, for those that do flyers, let me tell you something. You're supposed to get bad calls. You're supposed to get people that are pissed off that you put a flyer on their door or mailbox, because then you're doing your damn job, or whoever your flyer crew is. Because if not, if you don't have anybody pissed, you're not going to get any good calls, because that means it's not going out enough. And we would be putting out flyers like crazy of local break-ins and put that information on there. And all of a sudden we get calls and we would go sell those deals. And so we overcame that by, transitioning the way the business is built. We did the same thing in 2015 when we opened up solar. And we were only in North Carolina, and they got rid of the state federal incentive. All my competitors, most of them went out of business. They're like, oh, there's no state credit here. We can't sell solar. We, as a collective group, came up with the idea for an energy efficiency package to offset some of that and get it at a wholesale cost for the customer to where they get more bang for their buck. So solar made more sense. That changed the way we could stay open and grow as well. And it's really about proactive thinking. As you start seeing problems happening, you've got to be able to adjust to that. Another moment we did that was when the tariffs by Trump came out for, Asia. everybody's buying Asian panels at the time. There was no American made plants, right? And everyone's either buying Canadian panels or panels from Asia. And that was the deal. And we heard about all, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. It was all over the news. And we're like, what are we going to do? Well, one company was selling solar panels in the US. It was Mission Solar at the time, and they were expensive, and made a decision and told our team that this is what we're going to do. I felt like there were other times in business life that you had to make a bold change to overcome that hill, that wave, that adversity that's coming, like the '08 and like, anything else, right? The 15 with tax credit. So we did that. We doubled in size and we survived, where when these panels changed, a lot of companies went out of business. And then now with the pandemic and, some of the nonsense that's going out in the streets, I call it nonsense. That's all I'm going to say. You got nonsense and you got a pandemic, all the shit going on.
Yeah.
How do we overcome that? We did a deal with Generac and we doubled down on TV, and people are like, wow, I want solar. I don't want to be powerless. I like Generac. I like, we see these commercials. I'm scared. We utilize that. We were kind about it, but we shared real information. It is important that you have your power during this. You need medical supplies. You need food. People were scared. You couldn't get groceries. They couldn't go places, right? So now this really made a difference. And when we did that, we doubled in size again during the pandemic. So, my advice to people is, when you see adversity coming, problems coming, pivotal times that can change everything coming, you need to find an opportunity in it. You don't need to look for an excuse to run or adapt. You need to change the game and be ahead of it. And we've been, blessed, lucky, and mindful of doing this every single time, ahead of the curve, not late, ahead. And when you stay ahead of things, then the problems the waves stay behind you, and they don't ever really catch you, in my opinion.
So do you ever anticipate or think of your next pivotal moment coming up? Like right now, is there a time that you foresee where you're like, man, like this is something we probably need to think about? Not right now, but I think it's coming.
I think we're in the middle of one, John, in our business. Right now we have over 1,500, almost 1,500 employees. We're on our pace to do $1 billion in revenue. That's the goal, right? And our goal is to take an IPO or a lucrative acquisition to take care of our employees, right? To have a life-changing event for our employees. And, to get there, there's a lot of barriers. And us taking a stance in January of this year to try to go battery most of the jobs and to get to 60 or 75% by year end. We're already at almost 80%. We're in the third quarter. If we can get to 100%, this is a pivotal moment, right? You got this in September 2020. I'm telling you right now, sooner than later, these utility companies are not going to allow you to do solar unless you have battery. And these utility companies will pay consumers, if they have batteries, more money to be able to use their energy and not buy it on the black market. All of that's already in play in California and other states. You got to get ahead of things and research, pay attention. For us, if we go into 2021, all battery only, we're ahead of the game. When all this starts to change sooner than later, other companies are going to fold. They're not going to be used to that. They're looking for the quick, easy, cheap sale. You are not doing a customer due diligence when you don't offer a battery. I state it all the time. Customers need batteries to make sure they don't have power outage. Customers need batteries to manage their energy efficiency and their usage of their power at time of use, when the utility companies are going to say, we're going to charge you more at night than day because, we got electric cars coming down the road. That's another pivotal thing. How are these people going to charge their cars? Are they going to continue to use the grid that has problems with the utility company and all the high power rates? Or are they going to have their own solar or some kind of energy program there to help offset some of that cost when they have an electric car? Because you don't want the electric cars to be more expensive than gasoline. They won't sell. That won't happen. So there's going to be companies like us offering a solution for these homeowners. And as long as we stay ahead of that, I think we're golden. And I think that, the harder that we push to be different, and first, then we'll see a difference in that. It was in security. There was a time landlines were the only way you did security. And a thing called GSM radio, which is a cell phone built into the security system, allows you to not have a landline and your alarm signal can still be sent. We were one of the first companies to go 100% GSM. Because we didn't want to have to go back and do service calls, and we wanted to be ahead of that when people were cutting phone lines and all that. That was a game changer too. I mean, you gotta get a sense and you gotta have an intuition of what's happening. And then you've got to be able to take risks and be able to take bold chances and figure out the way to get through it. Otherwise, you're just going to be like everybody else and the wave's going to hit you and then you're going to see where you float.
Yeah. And so often, right? Like you said, we're in the middle of one. So we're typically entering, a pivotal time or an adverse time or a painful time. We're in the middle of one of those or exiting, right? We're smack dab in the middle. So my next question would be, we actually talked on Friday, right? And there's just a lot of weight that you now carry with the company, the size of the company that you, and nothing that has prepped you for this. You're just doing it, right? Every day you're doing it. It's nothing you've done before running a company this size, but are you still able to find like true joy and contentment? This was, I was thinking about this after our conversation, like true joy and contentment, even in some of the hardest, most pivotal times in your life.
I struggle to find happiness sometimes. I've become so engulfed in work and setting my own expectations and goals so high that it's hard to find happiness. That is true. I mean, if I had to say the biggest thing I struggle in life is I'm just too busy, right? And if I'm not busy, I feel like I'm withering away. But if I am busy, I struggle to find a lot of joy. And I'm working on that. I mean, that's something I'm trying to find happiness or find different things that inspire me. I've got a granddaughter that's inspiring and exciting. I've got 4 wonderful kids, a wonderful wife, but everyone has their problems. Everybody has issues. Nobody's life is perfect, right? And so I struggle sometimes finding happiness. I've never really had that before, but my wife said it pretty clear to me last night. It hit home. She's like, you set your expectations so high on yourself. You push yourself so much that you never really get to relax. And I think she's right. And, it's how I'm built. I mean, I wish there was a way I could slow down. I really can't. And I want to, I can't. And as long as I can keep pushing that mountain higher and keep climbing, I'm going to. And I don't know when or what it will take to get me to be satisfied. But like we say in our company, every single day is a playoff game. Every single win is a playoff game. Every single month we break a record, that's a playoff game. We're not done. We're just rounding first base, like Steve Murph says. We are just trying to continue it. Because once you stop, once you relax, once you become complacent, laziness kicks in. Losing your edge kicks in. Other people being bigger and better than you kicks in. And I struggle with that. I have to keep pushing myself. But it's really hard. I mean, I've got to find a way to balance a little bit more, but there's been a lot thrown, with the flooded house and, becoming a grandpa, running this business. I never thought this business would get this big. I had a vision for us to get to 50 million in sales one day, maybe 100, never what we're doing, right? Never. I'm very happy, but it's still not enough, right? Yeah. I'm like, we're doing that a month now. It's still not enough. It's like, you become numb to it. Eric Randisi, our director of dealers, messaged me a few months ago and was like, man, $5 million on the marketing budget in a month. That takes big balls to manage that, right? Because we're boys. We used to be partners in the ski business. I'm like, actually, dude, I'm numb to it. Whether it's 5 million or 50 million, it's all the damn same to me. We got to keep grinding. I don't get shock and awe anymore. I don't go, wow, anymore. I'm proud. It's a chest bump. We keep moving. We keep moving. Everything's a playoff game until we're done.
Yeah. And that's one thing we talked about before too, is nothing can really rock you anymore. Or so it seems, right? Do you feel like any kind of message or any kind of adversity can be thrown at you where you're like, I just don't have an answer for this?
I had a conversation with an Uber driver, and I hate to give him a shout out, but I'm going to, on the way back recently from North Carolina, 3 days ago. And he was listening. I never talk politics, but here I go. And he was, so everyone, you can listen up now. You're going to see where I stand, and I don't give a shit. So it's coming. So we're in the car and I'm minding my business, and he has CNN radio on, and they're talking about, it's talking about how Trump knew about the pandemic and downplayed it and did all this stuff. Right. and that he killed lives because he downplayed it and didn't take it serious. I hear a little bit of it, and I'm on my phone. This guy doesn't know me. I forgot his name. Nice guy. We ended up talking. He was from Africa. He is a recent U.S. citizen a few years ago. He looks at me and goes, "Do you see what the president did?" And I said, "Huh?" And he goes, "Did you just hear what the president did?" I said, "No, I really wasn't listening." And he's like, "Yeah, he knew about the pandemic and played it down and cost millions of lives." And I said, "Well, it wasn't millions of lives. And he said he did it to get reelected." I said, "Did he say that? He said to get reelected?" "Yeah, it's in the thing." I said, "I didn't hear him say I'm playing it down to get reelected." "Well, that's what it was for." And I said, "Dude, you got to quit listening to this noise." Like that. I said, "Let me ask you something." And I told him the story. I said, "Listen, I don't think our president, I'm going to go on record and say it, is racist at all. I think he's insensitive. Me and Kevin got to go to a Mar-a-Lago event. He's an insensitive dude. That's what he is. Okay, he is not racist. He wants everyone to prosper. I truly believe that. He doesn't look at skin color as an issue. I truly believe that. But he is insensitive sometimes. That's okay. Some people are. I can be insensitive about certain things in life. People sometimes are insensitive. When you're a bullish CEO, entrepreneur type guy, you've got to have thick skin and no minutia, no bullshit kind of attitude. That's what he's got, and it rubs a lot of people the wrong way who feel entitled. That's a true fact. I don't care what anybody says. But when I broke it down to him, what we did in the pandemic, I said, look, as the CEO of a company with about 1,500 employees, I had two choices here. I could shut the company down immediately when this all went down, before they had unemployment, which, was great for some of the people. I think it was overpaid because it made people not get jobs. Before they had the PPA program or whatever, we didn't get any of that because we had over 500 employees. Before any of this came out and everything, we were on calls with attorneys every single hour. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? We talked about shutting down, and it was the night after GMC executives took a pay cut. And I said, hell no, we're not going to shut down. And here's why. We've got Lucy, who needs to pay for diapers and formula. You've got Mike, who's out there installing. He's the only breadwinner in his house. You've got John. You've got all these people. We have to think of them. And as long as a customer wants to buy, we're going to stay open. Well, what do? We've got this. And I said, well, we can't look scared. We have to downplay this and follow the rules, because the moment your leader looks scared, guess what everybody's doing? Running nuts. They're quitting. Right. Oh my God, this is worse than it is. Imagine if the president came out and said, the world is ending. We're going to lose hundreds of thousands of people. You got robberies, you got murders. People can't handle it. If you've ever seen the movie Armageddon, when the news came out that the meteorite's going to hit, literally Armageddon happens in the country. Like this is, people tear shit up. This is what they do. There's no reason for that. So I don't have an issue with him downplaying when he was trying to keep the composure of the country of, listen, we'll get through this. We can get past this. It's the same kind of concept we did at Powerhome. We will get through this. Fear is everyone's only choice. It is different for everybody. If you want to stay home, stay home. We're not mad. We'll put you in active. We'll pay you for your vacation, PTO time. But for those that need to work, we will be as safe as possible. We'll offer the masks. We'll do social distancing. We'll do temperature checks. We'll do everything we've got to do. We did that. And we had like 85 or 90% retention rate of the people, and added an extra 300 or 400 jobs during the pandemic. So what that tells me is people need true leadership that is not scared and that is not afraid of what's going on. You imagine if our presidents during our wars were like, I don't know if we're going to win this war. They just blew up Pearl Harbor. We can't make it. Like, what does that do to the country? You can't act like that. Now, I'm not saying Trump is perfect. He has his own issues. He says some crazy shit. He can't speak sometimes. He's insensitive. I get all that. But let me tell you something. He was as cool as can be during this, and it was needed. Because if we didn't have that, we would have more chaos if he was so scared and making people scared. And then when I told him that, and he said, well, you know what? Maybe his exact words, not mine. Well, I was in Africa when the pandemic happened, and we were stuck there for 2 months. And the president sent a plane out to come get us and brought 600 of us home in 3 different planes. So maybe I shouldn't be too hard on him. That's what he said to me after I spoke to him. Look, obviously we've got problems in the country. There is racism. There is issues with cops. There's issues with all of that. I am not taking all that away. But the exact same thing that a lot of the people are rioting and protesting against is exactly what they're bitching about. They're being racist. White and blacks over there. People are getting upset and they're creating more issues rather than trying to heal and promote love and promote relationship. There's a difference. I am not in politics, thank God. But if I was, one of the changes I would make, one of the things I would do immediately is teachers, cops, firemen, ambulance, and military would be making six figures entry-level jobs. And I would put the requirements much higher for them to get those jobs so they're more educated, less likely to be stupid or take advantage of the position or be racist or any of that, less likely to half-ass teach a kid, because what you're doing is you're teaching our youth. So that's very important. I know so many great people that would have loved to be teachers, but they couldn't afford to live on that pace, so they didn't. And they could have changed the world with how they raised our kids, but they didn't. So what you get is half-assed teachers, especially in inner cities that get paid less than private school. Like, this is crazy to me. If we did that, game changer. Please, if you paid cops more and you put higher requirements, higher testing, higher training, more better people would be cops. Not like, well, I'm just going to go be a cop. That's the problem. Military. If you did that, more smarter people, fighting smart, being smart, intelligent, how can we create new weapons? How can we create self-defense mechanisms, whatever, would join the military. Not, I have nothing else to do and I dropped out of school, I'm joining the military. That mindset that we've made in our country has broken us, in my opinion. And that's what's really separated a lot of different communities of things that are going on, is the education part and how people are compensated fairly. So that's my opinion on that. That's how I feel on all of that. I believe we have issues. I believe we'll get through them. No matter who wins the election, the world's not going to end. I truly believe that. Okay. But I also believe that we need to try to be more positive. The more negative we are and we rip each other apart, the bigger the separation is going to be. It's going to be harder to heal sooner than later. We've got to figure that out. We've got to find other ways. We don't need so many different. I don't need 12 people to show up at my house to pass an inspection on electrical, right? Get one. Why do we need 12? Use that money to pay the teachers more. Like, what's the problem here? Like, it's broken. If we did that, I believe it'd be different, but I'm not in politics, and thank God.
You could be, though.
What do you think of my suggestion there, John? Would that work?
Of course. You know me. I love that. If you pay those positions higher and you're going to get higher quality people, supportive, training, and people that are a little bit more polished on how to handle those certain situations. I love how you related the response back in March of our president to also our response as a company. And I think that's so crucial. Like, when there's fear setting in, like, you got to act cool, add a little spark to them. Right. So like, when the highs are, high, bring it down a little bit. And when the lows are low, you got to do something to influence and inspire. So
I was just as scared and nervous as everybody else, but I took my butt up to the Troy office and did a live video. And I mean, like, you got to do that. You got to show that, look, if I can do it, we can do it. That's what I think the message was intended to be. Now, I don't know, but that's what I believe. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to take one side or the other, but I'm trying to say that we're broken in how we're handling and responding to things. And, at Powerhome, we don't get into this mess. We are Powerhome strong. We're a Powerhome family. White, black, green, female, male, transgender. We don't give a shit what you are, who you are, where you come from. As long as you're part of our brand and you want to be here forever and you care about what you're doing and you have a why and you're passionate and we want you. We want you to be part of our family. None of that other bullshit outside of that, we don't give a shit about. And that's how I really feel. I mean, I wish it was like that. My daughter's been getting bullied a little bit, unfortunately, with how she supports. She's a Trump supporter. She went to a little thing on Woodward and a couple kids made an Instagram and were bullying. It's a phantom Instagram bullying her, saying that she's a white supremacist and she's racist because she had a Trump sign. And two of her friends were of different ethnicity, right? One was African-American and one was Chaldean and they were all there doing that together. So that has nothing to do with race. She's 16. She can't even vote. But that's an example of what we're doing to our youth here and what we're spitting out on the media, which is the wrong way to handle things. It starts to bother my soul and wears me out, where I said, all right, I'm going to be a little bit more public about shit now, because enough's enough. I can't just be quiet and just sit on the sidelines. People need to understand that some of this is bullshit, and it hits home with me with my kid. I don't tolerate shit like that.
Yeah. One last question. Before this all started, and this might be too easy of an answer, but like, did you anticipate it being this hard? Is it harder than you thought? Or have you been able to experience enough to now it's simple decision, it's easy decisions for you to look for those opportunities? Go ahead.
I will tell you, my team is like the Avengers. I've got great guys. Now, every one of them has abilities and attributes that are different than another. And so we help each other out a lot. But when we changed the format to the 4 executives report to me and all the directors report to them, I think it was a lot better, because we can talk as a collective group and they make most of the decisions. And any decisions that they don't make that I'm involved in, it makes it much simpler. So I would say that it's easier. I know that's crazy, but it's easier, and it's allowed me to do another thing I love, which is this podcast, sharing real stories, sharing how to overcome adversity, trying to help people, how to motivate people. I want to write a book soon. These things, I want to be able to help people out and just give back. We've got this new entrepreneurship program. It's called Find Your Power, where Powerhome is going to give $10,000 a month through this podcast to new entrepreneurs with business ideas. Imagine you're, a young adult out there and you've got this business idea, but you don't have any startup capital and you don't know where to go. Well, what if you put your information in, you're one of several that come in and we vet you out and you're the one. We bring you on the show. We give you tips. We give you skill sets. We give you some advice, take it or leave it. Then we give you the $10,000 to open your business and go running. Think about this. Now we're helping create jobs. This person's getting to be an entrepreneur. Powerhome looks good because it's giving money to do that. True Underdog looks good because it's given a platform to do that. It is a great feel good all over. That's what we're getting ready to roll out in October. We're super jacked about on this podcast and through Powerhome paying for it. It's called, Find Your Power, and it's the Underdog Entrepreneurship Program. Super jacked about that. But that allows me to do other things like this, John, by having such a great team and being able to make decisions at a higher level rather than in the weeds all the time. Now, every now and then, especially when I'm in North Carolina, I'm in the weeds more and I've got to, inspect what I expect and get involved. And that would be my advice to business owners out there. You're going to have to do that, but you're also going to have to step back and let people grow. You got to step back and let them do things. You got to trust them. I sometimes struggle with that, but I've gotten a lot better than I used to be, which makes things easier.
Yeah. Without it, I've seen that also over the last year and a half, right? So, all right, last one. Prediction for the game today. Oh, you already said it. 34-10. Is that what you said?
31-10, the Lions win. And, I think the Lions go 10-6 this year and they win the division.
10-6. Okay.
Yeah. Stafford, look, I love Matthew. One of the best talented arms we've ever seen. My issue with him is leadership. He's not very vocal. All of a sudden he tells the free press, they're like, you're going to be a dark horse MVP. He said, no, I'm going to win the MVP. I love it. When you've got confidence, when you're swinging your thing around like there's nobody's business and you're acting as that's the king dingling right there. That is the next step to be the big dog. I love that. That means he's ready. That means he's sick of shit. He's motivated. I've been there. I've been kind of quiet and then bam, it's like, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. That is where he's at. And I think that's great stuff.
That is good stuff. Well, great message today. I loved it.
Hey, good. I'm glad we got to talk on that. And thanks for getting on here, John. We'll do it again soon. And guys, make sure you check out our podcast, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Stitch, and then we've also got trueunderdog.com and the YouTube channel. That's a wrap here. Check us out Mondays and Thursdays. Bam!
That concludes another episode here on True Underdog. If you're interested in hearing more, make sure you subscribe at iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the YouTube channel. You can always visit trueunderdog.com, subscribe to all of them. Make sure you check out our newest episodes coming out on Mondays and Thursdays. True Underdog, baby. Bam!